Hello everybody, I'm here with Poseidon again. It's such a beautiful day again, and we're out here exploring different options on how we might learn to relax a little bit more in the walk. Poseidon has, if I may remind you, has a little bit of a condition that inhibits the way we can work with him. He has sidebone, which is a bone growth sort of disorder, I want to say, where the outside of the cartilage, the bones are starting to calcify and make these little spikes that go up right above the coronary band on each side. And so those things can become painful. And so this horse is 6 years old and, has had very mild, if any, kind of training up to this point. And I am not quite figuring out how to keep him relaxed in the walk. And neither can the owner, and we're both sort of on this journey trying to, sort things out. And, one of the challenges is, of course, that with a horse like that, with soundness issues like that, you can't make tight turns or small circles, right? And kind of let him sort it out that way, which would be, otherwise a wonderful option. So I have tried all different things, and I'm, learning more and more about him every time a little bit. Ideally, of course, I would love for him to just walk on a long rein. Most horses, once you get them into just a very non-invasive following with your seat kind of walk, they at some point relax and stop holding tension or, rushing or whatever they might be doing that sort of expresses their tension or their anticipation. And I don't think, like I said before, that this horse is particularly anxious. He's obviously right now, as we're standing here, quite relaxed and there's not much going on. But as soon as we pick up the walk, and if I don't have a fairly sort of, more rein contact with him than I like originally, or initially even at least with the horse, he will just go into that little shuffle trot. And so I've tried different things. You could see that those things that I've tried in, the couple videos that I've done up to this point with him. And today I want to try something a little bit different. I'm going to pick up the reins here in a moment. I will have my hands fairly forward and a little higher. It seems like that is sort of the rein contact that he might be used to. And then I'm going to play a little bit with inside flexion and outside flexion. And perhaps, a medium-sized circle to one direction and then to the other, just to see if we can get him to think a little bit more about where his feet go rather than the speed at which they're going. And we're going to just start here at this point very gently. And as you can see, I have him here just ever so slightly left, right. My shoulders follow his shoulders. But I have, I want to say, an unusual amount of tension in my reins when he goes like this. And it may not look like that, but it is more than what I normally would like to, use with any horse, really. So I'm going to keep my hands a little bit more forward and say to him, hey, don't lean on my reins so much. And I'm giving him a little bit of these upward schooling aids. And I still just allow each stride. As you may have seen in the previous video, I've started counting. I'm going to stop him here because he just very heavy in the reins, leans on the bit, and basically just kind of wants to plow through me. And I'm going to say to him, since you're not allowing me to use my legs very much, and he would like to run off when I do that in the walk, I'm just going to use my upper thighs, a little bit of rhythmic knee closure, and a little bit of, a boundary setting here. As the boundary is set, or will be set in relationship to how much rein contact I'm willing to have with him. And he seems to feel very kind of comfortable when he just leans very heavily downward. And I'm just going to say with my hands, hey, hey, stop. Hey, hey, stop. And you will see me, I'm going to breathe in here, make those little motions as soon as I feel that he's getting a little bit too heavy. And I, at this point, don't even care if he's, he's in the right position or if he's slowing down. Look, haha. Here we're starting to actually get to a place where he is starting to accept my legs a little bit. Because if I don't let him plunge forward downward so much and he has to bring his head up and get off the forehand a little bit, And I'm still just allowing each stride here. And it might not look like the most elegant and most comfortable thing, but we have to kind of come to that place where he doesn't just go, oh, I'm just going to put my head down and plow through you. And I'm going to, every time he gets heavy, give a tiny little bit of a schooling and say, hey, stay a little bit higher here with your head, please. A little bit higher. And all the while now, suddenly, I can use my lower legs. Very interesting, right? Because I'm setting a boundary, and he is look at this, the ears. This is something that he's obviously not experienced before. I'm going to just stand here and let him process what just happened. So in essence, it's a little bit, what you see people like Philippe Carl do when they're starting out with a horse. And he artificially, way more than what I do, sometimes takes a horse's head up and says, hey, I'm going to call your bluff. How much more, do you want to invade me forward, downward, or upward if the horse goes up? And you say, hey, I'm going to give you a little area within which we maintain a polite exchange of rein aids, right? And this politeness needs to extend to a place where the horse starts to take on a little bit of his own responsibility for the weight that he has to carry, and I accept that. Horses are front-loaded. Their neck and their head is, an extra weight that they have to carry while they carry the rider on top of their back. But if I let him plunge forward downward with this heaviness into my, rein aids, he's going to run on his head and almost like into the ground. And then every time I try to use my legs, he's just going to go pedal faster, and there's nothing I can do then, right? Because there's no reception kind of happening. So we're going to try this again. I'm going to, pick up the reins, hold them out fairly far forward so that I can have a comfortable rein aid. I'm going to lean a little bit back, and then I'm going to go say, hey, how about a few steps of walk like this? And as soon as he tries to get heavy, I'm going to say, hey, don't get heavy. Stay up here. And now suddenly, very interesting, I can use my legs in rhythm with this little bit of shoulder-to-shoulder movement that I'm creating here. So, and that is actually, interesting. Yeah. And look at that, how interesting that is to him. He doesn't seem to have experienced anything like this. And then he comes to a halt. He's like, what just happened? I'm going to let him have a moment here again, because what I'm saying to him pretty much with my lower legs, I say, please come and step a little bit more underneath yourself, pick a little bit more weight up in your hind end, and in the front, don't plunge and don't lean on me, and I think that is not something that he's experienced or heard in these terms before. So I'm going to let him just have a moment here and just process. And I could see it even just in the way how his ears were playing and the way how his body was absorbing this new context of a rider being on top of him. And it's interesting, right? And again, I'm playing with things that are later on less visible and hopefully, a little bit more automated. But I have to at some point come to the place where the horse will accept my leg aids in all three gaits. And if I don't have that, I don't really have anything. Because our patterns and our work later on, our practices will always combine these three gaits. There will always be transitions, will be one of our main themes if we want to strengthen and help the horse balance him or herself more self-responsibly. And so this little extra thinking work and this introducing a new way of responding to certain things will make a huge impact. So I'm going to start doing this again for a moment here. I'll take up caterpillar up on the reins, put a little bit of lower legs cupping, and I'm just going to sit very much here on the back of my seat post so that I do not inhibit him at all. Oh, look, this is already much nicer, much more polite way for him to, hey, there he goes again, a little bit heavy. Now I'm going to say no, so, good, so, very interesting, right? There's the tendency again to run, and I'm going to slow him down, and now he's going to let me use a little bit more of my legs suddenly, how nice is that? So I'm going to take that, and I'm just going to take a little bit of a turn here and let him experience the same thing to the other side. So, good boy. So, and suddenly, we have a whole new way of operating together. And this is, like I said, not far from what the final end result will look like. And I'm going to let him stand here and process again a little bit. I don't want to ride, and remind him every step that he can't plunge, but he's starting to already understand that there's a little bit of a new parameter around where he can have his head, how he has to engage his neck, and also how I'm going to actually support him. It's not like I'm, wanting to force him to pick up more weight, but I'm going to support him. I think if we think about it in those terms, our whole body reflects that. And it's not so much make him. It's more like, here, come on, I'll help you. I'll show you how you can, step a little bit more underneath yourself. Not so visibly yet, but coming off the forehand is the prerequisite so that the hind end can eventually come down a little bit, right? So I'm going to do a little bit more here. Again, very, and he's very careful right now, which is so interesting. So, look at that. Good. Come. So, and like I said, I, at this point, do not care if he's a little bit above the bit. And he comes to a halt almost. He's like, oh, let me see that here. If I have to hold myself like this, like legs off. Do you see how I take my legs off when he gets a little bit resistant? I want him not to feel like I'm, manhandling him. But look at this. This is not a bad, for now, not at all a bad deal. And I don't have that much weight right now in my hands. And all I do is minimal giving to the left and to the right shoulder. And he is figuring this out. Right? And he's allowed to, have his head this way and that way. And we're going to halt here again, and I'm going to let him think again for a moment. And this is sort of our next step today. So we have little steps where we're making progress and where we're discovering new ways of doing things. And to me, what's really, really important is that we don't rush things and that we don't do like a ton of it when it's this different and this new to the horse, right? So I'm going to just let him stand here and process for a little bit longer. And I might just get off and hand walk him a little bit around or lunge him a little bit to get him a little bit more of a workout and aerobically kind of engage him a little bit rather than this. But this is what I wanted to share with you today. I think this went really interestingly well, and we'll see where we are in the following days and where this takes us. But I think this is the way. This is the way for this horse. So thanks for watching, and thank you, Poseidon, and happy riding.